Dedication. I dedicate this book to my warrior mother, the late Reva Daniel Salter, a regal, proud, and beautiful Black woman who set the example for being the best you could be, who always expected the best from you, and who always gave you her best. She would not tolerate mediocrity, cowardice, or marginal effort. The effort, she felt, was more important than the outcome. Others could influence, thus affect the outcome. She would remind me, but I controlled the effort. Did you do your best? Was her opening and closing questions. My mother's power was in her direct, articulate, and plain speaking messaging. Because she never minced words, she was an outstanding manager leader. As my late brother George used to say, given her capacity for goal setting, performance management, meeting objectives, all my dear needs is staff. The joke was on George because we, her children and husband, were her staff.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gary Johnson, and I run Gary A. Johnson Company and BlackMenInAmerica.com and a forthcoming talk show called Calculations. Calculations, the talk show, because you know what? Every day, all of us, we have to make some calculations. When we walk into the office from the parking lot and somebody says something to us, how are we going to react? We got to calculate. Are we going to turn it out today, or are we just going to go ahead and see if we can be a little more strategic? And that's probably one of the reasons why we have our guest today, Mr. Kwame Salter. Kwame is the author of the book, Black Over White. And I'm glad that he's here with us today. We're going to have a virtual strategy session and whatever Kwame turns it into. And you can see an interview that I conducted with Kwame on BlackMenInAmerica.com. You can just go there and do a search. And so without any further ado, I also want to talk and announce that also with Kwame is Janice Finn. Janice Finn is with Team Salter, and she's going to be riding shotgun, and she's going to be your point of contact. And there'll be an opportunity for people to network. I'll come up with a networking roster because we've got a wide variety of people who RSVP'd. We've got talent acquisition experts, we've got HR experts, we got hardworking people, we got entrepreneurs. I see we have a strong turnout from the SPN, the Smart People Network. Man, that Dr. Lang and Ashley, man, they just dragging the people in here. Oh yeah. And Chicago's represented also because Janice Finn is in that Chicago area.
Yes.
So let's talk. Kwame and Janice, I'm going to turn it over to you, and as people come in, they can just catch up. So ladies and gentlemen, Kwame Salter.
Thank you, Gary. I appreciate the introduction. I appreciate the first conversation we had, which was a great conversation. Gary refers to it as an interview, but in fact, it was a conversation. Two guys.
It was a conversation. I would say that, yes.
Yeah, and his wife told him, quit drinking on the screen. Quit drinking that juice on the screen.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I still have the shameless plug. All my products is right behind me. It's still a shameless plug.
It's worthwhile. So how do you want to begin? We want to start off?
Oh, there we go.
Here we go. This is the title of the book. This is the layout and the cover that Janice came up with. And it's very powerful. It says what it means what it says, being the boss when it's black over white. Basically what we're saying is that given the nature and the configuration of corporate America today, most likely if you get a promotion to a key leadership position, you will be the one black person over a majority white staff. And so what I learned was that there are a whole lot of things they don't tell us about when we get promoted. And so I decided keep my eyes and ears open and see what was going on and keep notes, mental notes and physical notes of what I've learned about dealing with and managing white folks and Black folks. Because once you get to that key position, your perception, the perception of you changes to some extent by Black folks. They change their perception of you. And so that's basically the genesis of how I wrote this book. Now, Janice has it on the screen. I had incredible mentors. And ironically, I had Black mentors, of course, throughout my life, key among them being my parents. I count my parents as mentors. But one of the things I learned when I got to Oscar Mayer, I was brought to Oscar Mayer by the chairman and CEO of Oscar Mayer, who met me while I was on the school board. I was the youngest person that had been elected to the school board, and the guy took a liking to me. Didn't know why. I never asked questions, you know. I just, okay, you like me? Fine. What you see is what you get. And so he brought me into Oscar Mayer. And I have a friend in Madison, and he's a Polish guy, and he said, you know what's so ironic about you? You're the most outspoken Black person in Madison, and yet all of your mentors are old conservative white men. He said, explain that, Kwame. I said, well, what happens is people see something in you that they envision about themselves. And they saw that I was hardworking, determined, focused, and they decided, okay, if you're serious about this, we're gonna help you. And I remember the first time I talked to Jerry Hegel, who was the president and CEO of Oscar Mayer, he said, I need you here because we've got some people here who need to change their attitude and behavior. I need to bring a person in who they could respect without fearing. And you're the person. And he said, and now it's not going to be easy because you're going to have to change attitudes and behaviors. And my point was simply this. In America, when Brown versus Board of Education, America's jurisprudence system does not try to change attitudes. It changes behavior. In other words, you may still not like Black people, but you're going to have to serve us. Whatever your attitude, it doesn't matter. It's the behavior. And so sometimes it's better to act your way into new thinking than to think your way into new acting. So this is what I learned from one of those mentors. The other mentor I learned from, and it's on the slide, and Chuck Linder, who told me when I came in, he said, look, here's the key to being successful. Never turn down a crappy job. He didn't say crappy, so you can imagine what he said. I said, why? He said, because you can't do any worse than the person who had the job before you. If you do anything better, you're going to be a hero. Oh, wow. I said, okay. And then I always felt strongly that I was a representative of the people that I worked with. They didn't work for me, they worked with me. First of all, people have to work with you before they can work for you. And so what I learned was that my employees, the people who worked with me, were key to me being successful. And I always promise them this, when something goes right, I will sit down and you can stand up and take the credit. When something goes wrong, you can sit down and I'll stand up and take the hit. That's the way we work. Now, Janice will let people know that, you know, we would have meetings after meetings to sort of dissect what went wrong. We watch the game film, so to speak. What went wrong? How did they score on us? Why didn't we score? And that's how we started to do it. The other thing that I was known for, and I am known for today, I'm known for this in my family as well as outside of my family, I'm going to speak truth to you as I see it. Now, I'm not saying that I'm always right, but what I'm saying is that when you hear me say something to you, it's coming from a place of authenticity. I am not playing games with you. This is what I see. And you can correct my point of view just by telling me why I'm wrong. I have no problem being corrected or critiqued. Now, when I got promoted to the senior vice president role, I was the senior vice president for the global supply chain, HR. The global supply chain had operations, customer service and logistics, procurement. We, of the 96,000 employees worldwide at Kraft, the function that I was responsible for covered 66,000 of the 96,000 people. So the span of control was amazing. And I got to travel all over the world: Germany, Brazil, Russia, Ukraine, Costa Rica, Mexico. I can't even remember some of the places. England, of course, Paris. But as I and Bulgaria, as I travel, the one thing I realized is that, and this is an old hackneyed phrase, people are more similar than they are different. When I was in Russia, we went to a place called Pokrov, Russia. It was like being in a little Mississippi town. And I went, oh my God. The only thing that's different is the complexion of the people. But the layout, the poverty, it was all there. So I just felt I was so fortunate. And I believe that the Most High decided, I want you to see the world. I want you to see the world. And I remember getting off the plane in Ukraine, and I was thinking, a little boy from Diddy Why Diddy, from a little old city in Louisiana, stand up here in the Ukraine. And it was amazing, and the people were friendly. But I found out that we have diversity issues here around ethnicity and so-called race. But there, it's a cultural issue. I didn't realize how much the Ukrainians hated Russians, because I was there to tell them that the top candidate for the engineering job was a Russian. And the Ukrainians said, no, we don't want a Russian. I said, you have no choice. He's been vetted, he's the best person. So I learned a lot about how organizations work. And I've always been the type, when I watch TV or a movie, everybody looks at the foreground. I always looked at the background. What was happening? What was about to come up on the screen? And here's how I found things work. In any organization, it's the allocation of power, values, and resources. Now, if you are not part of the power group or the establishment will give you resources if you agitate enough. That's the first thing you'll get is resources. For example, today, DEI positions, that's the resources. As a friend of mine said after reading some of my stuff, he said, what you're basically saying, Kwame, is that if your budget is your salary and a secretary, you don't really have any power. And so I started realizing that in any organization, the first thing you get are some resources. The second thing you get is the appearance of power. But we don't really understand power. Power is the ability to direct and control phenomena to your desired benefit. Power is not a title. It's not a position. I've seen so many of our people take positions and become the position, but not use the position as a power base. Power is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So what happens is that they'll give you power, the appearance of power, but what you'll never find happening in any organization when you're trying to shift the organization, they will never shift their value set. So values remain the same. What good looks like is defined by their values. And I've always told people this: if you think you are important to the organization, go check the organization's budget. If you are not funded, you are not valued. Organizations value what they fund. If they don't fund it, they don't value it. So I would always explain to people, you have to understand the fundamentals of the business model, how things work, and how you get promoted. And the way you get promoted is basically winning on the job you have. I had a seat at the table, and as Shirley Chisholm said, if you don't have a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. But I had a seat at the table, and I watched how things work. And I saw the inconsistencies, and I saw people having different characterizations about women, for example. And aggressive women were seen as being bitchy. Aggressive guy was, oh, he is focused. He's a dog on the bone. He's gonna get it done. And I would say, well, wait a minute now. The person you just described, sans gender, they have the same personality. Why is the woman's personality viewed this way? Now, for Black people, it was like, he can be too intimidating. Oh, he gets too emotional. These things. And so I consistently challenged them on what they were saying. I was part of the executive management group and worked with the president and all the other people. And I realized that no matter how high up you get in an organization, there's always this tendency to find somebody's behind the kiss. These are people, executive vice presidents, and they couldn't really give credible insight because they were concerned about their careers. And if you're concerned about your career, then you're going to basically swallow things that you should be sharing with people. Because every time you see a contradiction, that's a teachable moment. You have to be able to tell people that's wrong. Now I would bring up these issues. I remember one of the presidents saying to me, well, Kwame, you don't like this guy. That's why you're critiquing him. I said, I have no feelings towards this guy. I said, you have to respect HR in this way. I'm like R&D. If I tell you the fat-free initiative is not going to work, you don't tell me I don't like fat-free initiatives. You ask me why. So as an HR person, consider me a technical expert on people. And she finally realized, okay. Because HR basically gets caught up in being the sort of the voice of the people, but they're really not representing the people. Because what happens with HR is that you have two conflicting roles. You're the agent of the company, and you should be the advocate for the employee. And those things have to be balanced. But most of the time, HR people concerned about their career, they want to make sure that the powerful people like them. But this, when I got on the executive management group and we'd go through succession planning, I didn't remain silent, but I didn't talk a lot. Because one of the things I realized was that I needed to figure out how the process worked. Because it's projected as an objective process. It's not an objective process, it's very subjective. It's like being in a fraternity. If I may like this person, but if one of my fraternity brothers does not like the person, I have to defer to that person. So when you're at these big tables, you're pushing for a person, you're an advocate for a person, and somebody says, I don't like the person. And I would watch people back up and say, well, okay, well, I won't push it. I did the exact opposite. I pushed it. Why don't you like the person? What do you know about the person? What are your feelings based on? So I always advocated for, people used to say I was the expostulator for the downtrodden and the spokesman for the poor. Yeah, I did all that. I would challenge them because for me, it's about casting a net wide enough to get the best talent. This is a war for talent. It's basically what we're talking about. And the minute you exclude a group, you limit the amount of talent availability. So I would tell them, what we have to do is stock the pond with talent. And once they're in the pond, don't let them drown in the pond. Bring them out, develop them. So I also advocated for Black leaders who had been on the succession plan, Ready Now. And I would go over the plan and realize that they had been in that box, Ready Now, for 5 to 7 years. But this was eyewash, because when somebody would come in and say, do you have any Ready Now people of color? Yes. But they haven't moved. And there's a story we'll tell when it's convenient. But I got several people promoted to VP. I remember going into the president of sales and saying, here, you don't have a woman or a person of color as a VP since in your tenure. And he said, you know what, Kwame? He said, we wouldn't be having this discussion if they weren't minorities. I said, you know what, you're right. They would already be hired and promoted. That's how deep it is. So I always used my my power, because I was aware I had power. And I didn't flaunt my power, because the threat of power is more impactful than the use of power. I used to say this when Black people would say, can you help this? I said, I can drop the atom bomb, but you can only drop it once. Why? Because what you're dropping on ain't there anymore. So what I wanted people to understand is it's a process. And when we start talking about the book, I talk about beyond race, the excitement when Barack Obama was elected president was that we're in a post-racial society. No, we're at an inflection point in a racist society. And I would explain that to people. And you look at the slide, look at this. Remember, people used to talk about, whoa, this affirmative action, you're taking jobs from white people. Nothing has changed statistically. Nothing has changed. In fact, it's probably gotten worse. 1% of CEOs of the Fortune 500 are Black. 3% of executives are senior level roles. So my question is, what are we looking at? Are we looking at the same thing when I talk to my white brothers and sisters? Are we looking at the same thing? What set of data are you looking at? And is what you're looking at based on your perception, your feelings, or is it fact-based? But the other thing I realized is that, you know, as I moved up through the organization, I'll never forget, there were people who wanted to say that, oh, you're moving up because you're Black. In fact, the first significant role I got, a young Black woman came into my office and said, I don't know why they brought you in. They could have given me the job. They're looking for somebody Black. And I said, you think it's based on that? She said, yeah, I think it's based on that. So I sent her my resume, and the next morning she came in and said, I apologize. I said, yeah, you need to know that we're not all the same. See, this is the perception we have. Black people tend to be wanting to be the best of the rest. I want to be the best of the best. I want to compete with the best. So don't tell me I'm the best Black employee. That's an insult to me. So part of it is like, I just wanted people to see what we all saw, the elephant in the room. If you couldn't see the elephant, you could smell the peanuts on his breath, but it's there. You have to acknowledge it's here. And so I always pointed out the contradictions. What people have to understand about contradictions is simply this. The only way people learn is through contradiction. The only absolute in the world is contradiction. Everything else is relative. So if I give you a contradiction, it forces you to examine your thought process. And that way I can then bootleg in an insight for you to think about. It's a teachable moment. All right. And then in the book, we talk about something that a friend of mine who I've worked with, Daryl Wing Sue, he came up with this, well, he didn't come up with it, but he expanded on micro assaults, micro insults, micro invalidations. Micro insults, assaults, for example, somebody could be, we'll call you N-word, that's a micro assault. They'll use terms like, let's call a spade a spade. I hear Black people using it. I mean, I would always ask, what do you mean by that? What does it mean to call a spade a spade? Because I could substitute spade for N-word, N-word. And I remember this guy said, I don't know, I just heard it. I said, you should never repeat something you don't know. It's like me trying to learn Polish from somebody and they give me a phrase, dobry, and I use it and somebody slaps me. Oh, why are you slapping me? Well, did you know what that meant? No, you just told me to say it phonetically. Well, those are micro assaults. Micro insults is what I was talking about. When the president of Cell said if they weren't a minority, we wouldn't be talking about it. No, they'd already be promoted. Micro invalidations. I was talking to Janice today and she brought up Meghan Markle. I had been following her. When Meghan Markle said she was depressed, and Piers Morgan said she wasn't. How do you know what she was like? But this is the sense that white people have written a script of what they think Black people are. And guess what? Nobody plays the role better than the Black person. The Negro plays the role of a script that was not written by us. So their perception of us is all what they've written. That narrative is their narrative, it's not ours. So I wanted to just share what I learned in the process, going through the whole process. I realized that there's some key things in there. One of the things is emotional intelligence. Self-awareness, self-control, empathy, the ability to galvanize people, the ability to have a vision, a purpose, but most importantly, self-awareness and self-control. It's something that Jesse Jackson always said, I never forgot. It's not what they call you, it's what you answer to. So if you don't have self-control, somebody says something, you talking to me? You can't be talking to me because that ain't me, that's not me. So I don't know who you're talking to and I don't know what your purpose or what you said, or why you said it. And that's the way I would have it. You know, your people, I said, who are my people? People from Louisiana? People from my family? Who are my people? Who are your people? I remember when O.J. Simpson trial came up and they were all coming in, what do you think about O.J. Simpson? I said, well, first of all, I think he's guilty, but anyway, that's none of your business. I want to know what you think about Jeffrey Dahmer. What do you mean? I said, he's white? You asked me because O.J. Simpson, who was not black, basically, he decided he wasn't black. Now he comes back in, and they always come back in when they need us. I'm a black man. Yeah, well, how many black people could spend $10 million, which is the equivalent of 30, 40 million today? So emotional intelligence translates to, in my book I call, keep your cool. Always keep your cool. The shortest fuse loses. And I know there are times we really get ticked off, but that's what they're waiting for. Because in America, Black people don't have the right to claim provocation. We cannot claim that we were provoked. Therefore, stand your ground doesn't work for us. A white man can come up, slap us, call us names, put things on a yard. We go outside, we get arrested in our own house. No room for provocation. We were provoked. Provoked? What do you mean? We have the right to call you a nigger. We have the right to harass you. No, you don't. If I came and said something to you, Karens of the world run around saying, that boy took my phone. Nobody questioned whether she was telling the truth or not. They assumed because he was a Black kid that he did it. So these are the contradictions. And then, like I said, you have to develop your emotional intelligence because you have to come from every issue from a place of authenticity. You could be wrong, but if you're authentic, you can learn something because people know you're not playing a game. And then I talk about the 7 bad boss behaviors. If you want to be in a hall of shame, follow these 7 bad boss behaviors. You can find your way in the hall of shame. So I mentioned this, keeping your cool, feeling the fear and facing it, the fear of power. See, I think we have a fear of power because we've been wanting these jobs so long. We've been wanting to be successful so long. We get to these jobs, it's all about maintaining the pay level and maintaining the prestige of the job. And so often we get to these jobs and we get alligator arms. We arms get so short we can't reach back and pull somebody up. It's like, oh, I'm getting over. You got to figure out how to get over. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. If you watch white women coming into organizations, within 2 years, that organization had turned over 30 to 40% or more white women. You put a Black person in a position and more white people come in because they're afraid. I'm the exception. You're not the exception. There are plenty of bright Black people. And Janice will tell you, I hired the best. And my unit was so good because I knew Black talent and I gave them an opportunity. And I didn't give a rat's tush what somebody thought about me bringing in a Black person. And one of the top consultants I brought in was a good friend of mine. And one guy said, isn't he a friend of yours? I said, yeah, you want to see his resume? Because his resume trumps being a friend of mine, okay? Because I've watched him. For example, I know that the head of Kraft worldwide, Jim Kiltz at one point, had a guy that he kept with him. And rumor has it that the guy there was a limit of $50,000 a month. And rumor has it that Jim paid him $49,950 a month so he didn't have to go to Philip Morris to get okay. But this guy followed him and was responsible for developing the Lunchables concept. So I just said, I'm going to basically replicate what y'all do. I'm going to get smart people, tell them what I need done and get out of the way. And yes, I've hired Black people who didn't appreciate it and they got culturally comfortable with me. Like, oh yeah, I'm with a brother now. I can do whatever I want. No, you can't. You with a business and I'm a businessman. I'm not just a busy man. I am a businessman. And as a result, there are certain criteria that you're going to have to meet to stay with me. I wanted the best of the best. And then you got to do the right thing right. You got to make the right decisions. And I think so often we talk a good game with each other. Oh man, you know what I should have said. Why didn't you say it? You know what that man said to me? I should have. Why didn't you say it? Why didn't you turn and say, what do you mean by it? But we are tougher on the outside, at the bar, at the club, than we are in the seats of power. So we become a position instead of taking a position. Well, yeah, there are leadership principles for everybody. Everybody, regardless of what level you are in the organization or in your family, everybody is faced with what I call a leadership moment. You never know when the leadership moment comes. If you're driving across country with your family and your son or daughter says, hey, Dad, I think you missed that exit. What they just exercised was a leadership moment. Yeah, they're the kid, but they're telling you, Dad, you're too focused. So I think it's important that there are certain leadership principles that we have to share with people, and that's what my book does. Because once you understand how leadership works, the role of the leader is not to create more followers, as Tom Peters said in Pursuit of Excellence. The role of the leader is to create more leaders. So when Janice was working for me, my objective was to make her the leader, to make me redundant. I don't need somebody walking behind me asking me, what should I do? Well, if both of us have to make a decision and do something, one of us is not needed, and I'm not going anywhere. So it became very clear. The other thing about organizations is that you come into the organization when they're onboarding you, they're telling you about all these things, and here are the policies, here are the procedures, and here are the practices. And I look at them and I go, yeah, but is this what we need? If I follow this, I'll be successful? No, because what is not written is what I call the norms. The only way you know you violated a norm is when you violate it. And if you got a good mentor, he'll call you over. Gary would call me and probably say, hey, Kwame, you know what you just did? Don't do that again. Because that's a norm, but norms are never written. And you have to figure out. One norm, for example, is timeliness. What time should you show up at work? And I remember one of my mentors said, follow the herd. I said, what do you mean? He said, oh, there are people who be here at 6:30, but that's not the herd. The herd comes in around 7:45 to 8 o'clock. You be with the herd. I said, okay. Because if I'm going to follow the 6:30 person, I'm sitting there going, what the heck am I doing sitting? Follow the herd. And then the other problem we have is that, we have to work twice as hard, but that's not new to us. We always knew that. We knew that. But we also have to work smarter. Because if you work too hard, and my book mentions this, if you work too hard, they think you're over your head. Oh, well, he's really thrashing. He's got a problem. And we think, oh, that's going to be admirable. Excuse me, sir, I got something to do. I was here till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Yeah, that doesn't impress anybody. That just says that you haven't figured out how to do the job. So what I want this book to do, and I've talked to people about this, if I had the resources, and Janice knows this, I'd give this book away. I wouldn't even sell it. I think it's that important that we share experiences for the people coming behind us. Because we never had the opportunity, based on the systemic racism that we face every day, to have our fathers or our uncles or our brothers be in executive positions. I always said my father, if it hadn't been for racism, which probably causes premature death because he was a fighter, he would have been a corporate CEO. He had all sorts of businesses. He ran all sorts of little things, hustling. And so I want this book to be sort of a career navigation for you. I want to anticipate things for you. I can't anticipate everything, but I can give you the general outline of the context you're going into. Then I want you to understand how talent management and development works. Because the three things are diversity, development, and deployment. Diversity first. We need to see more of us, not just because of the hue. Because I don't stop at the hue, I go to the view. I used to have a thing when I was going up on the street. All that glitters is not gold. All that's black is not soul. So what I want to know is, what's your view? I got your hue. Your hue is the ticket to being reviewed. Your view is the thing that will latch you on to me. So what's your view? If your view is one of these, I'm getting over, I don't need to deal with you. I know so many people getting over. What does getting over mean? It means everybody's expendable in your life. You will throw anybody under the bus, including your mama, if you have to. So I don't trust everybody. I'm not a big trusting person, but if you gain my trust, you have a loyal friend for life. Trust, the one thing that you can not lose in any environment, especially a corporate environment, is trust. Once you breach a person's trust, your game is over. It may take years, months for it to take effect. But once you breach trust, it's over. I just remember something that Martin Luther King said. They asked him back in the 60s, mid 60s, about apartheid. And I wanted to know his answer. They said, what about apartheid in South Africa? And Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. said, apartheid is dead. The only question is how much will the funeral cost? Racism is dead. The only question is how much is the funeral going to cost? Because people are still fighting, but it's over. They're whistling past the graveyard. It's over. We wait. We ain't going back to sleep. We've never gone to sleep. Our parents, our ancestors, they fought. Another quote. They thought they could bury us, but they didn't realize we were seeds. I'm a seed. You're a seed. We're germinating. We're saying it's over. And then finally, I look at these employee resource groups. And what you got to understand about corporate has the amazing ability to take activism and bring it inside. Now, once they bring activism inside, they usually you're affirmative action officer, or we put you in this position. And I'm telling one of my clients, he was a good guy. And I said, he was an activist, they brought him in. And I said, now you have to become an advocate. You got to figure out how to manage the system to get what you want, to deliver what you want. I said, if you don't do this, you'll end up being an apologist. So the 3 A's is activist, advocate, or an apologist. The apologist takes the big position. The CEO sits there, doesn't have to answer any questions. Well, how are your diversity numbers looking? Well, talk to my head of diversity. What's the head of diversity going to do? He's the flat catcher. You're going to explain why a $35 billion corporation is not making any strides against this initiative? This initiative has been going on for 50, 60 years, and it hasn't gained traction. Any other initiative in corporate America that hadn't gained traction, heads would roll. And I have a unique perspective. I think you should put white males in positions of DE&I. They know where the bodies are buried. They know who their friends are. They know where the barriers are. They know what's stopping it. John Gruden, for example, nobody knew what he was writing. Nobody knew what he was writing. But he's got a face to the public. Like, I'm just a football coach. You're a racist, sexist, misogynist. And once it's exposed, this is what we're dealing with. We are so, I don't know. We are to a point where we want white people to be good, and we will believe them. But remember what Maya Angelou said. When people reveal themselves to you, believe them the first time. Don't go back and check, because they're not going to change. You can rationalize. And, when we're growing up, you fall in love, you see a boy or a girl, you like them, and you start projecting all these things, and they're just a loser. But you like them, so you just project on them. Well, no. And the women, I can change it. Or the guy, well, all she needs is somebody to support her. No, she is what she is. He is what he is. And this country is what it is. And what they want to do is say to us that you have no right to change this country, even though we built it. So I want this book to be easy read, quick read, because I have books where, it takes me months to read. But I want this to be something you sit down and you start reading and go, oh my God, this is interesting. I can relate to this. And I use real life examples and anecdotes and stories. I talk about home. See, I say there are 3 types of people when you get the job as a Black executive. There is the competition, the one you beat out, the white guy. He doesn't have to ever say he lost, because you only got a job because of affirmative action. So I don't have to say I lost. I've never been beaten out by a Black guy or a Black woman. No. They got it. And then you got the doubter. This is the insidious person. They play the game. they ask you questions like they really want an answer. So what, I'm not understanding what you're saying about that. And I'm saying, well, are we speaking the same English, or should I, is there a language that I'm missing here? Because what I said is what I said. It's irreducible. Well, I'm just not sure. I just don't understand where you're coming from. That's the doubt. And then you have the home, the brother. Hey, man, right on, man. Hey, man. We proud of you, man. We proud of you. Hey, by the way, you know, I didn't get my promotion last month. You think you can pull it off for me? You didn't speak to me before. Now I'm your brother. Come on, man. Everything I say to you comes from my heart. I am not trying to impress anybody. I'm at an age and stage where it don't matter anymore. I am what I am. What you see is what you get. What you don't see is better yet. Okay? That's it. Let's open it up.
All right. Hey, we've got a wide variety of people on this format.
Okay.
We've got talent acquisition experts. We've got people who work for the government. We have people who are with the Smart People's Network. I mean, just school teachers, educators, entrepreneurs. Let's just open it up.
Yeah,
let's just go.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be bashful. Take yourselves off mute and let's go.
Yeah. There's no such thing as a stupid question. Not all at the same time,
though. So I'll open up if it's okay. A comment. So one thing that
tell them who you are. I mean,
I'm so sorry.
That's all right. I mean, do a shameless plug. You know, promote yourself. Let this be your practice.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Tawnya Wash, longtime friend of Gary, and I work for the federal government. Mm-hmm. My job is a resource analyst, so I touch, funds, the hiring of people, sit on like career service boards, selection panels, all things. So one thing that Kwame had stated that resonated with me, and I will state that until I got to a certain level, mm-hmm. I had this particular mentality, like when I was at a lower level and I would see, your like higher GS individuals, Black individuals, I just knew that they had the answers to everything, any problem that I had, I could just go to them and they could just, pull something out of a magic hat, like, okay, Tawnya, this is what you need to do. And so now with me being in that position, and willing to help individuals, sometimes, and please forgive me for being blunt, with some of my individuals, I was like, well, you were wrong for doing that. Why did you do that?
Amen.
You can't come to me and expect me to fix all of this after you've done this type of damage. And yeah.
Well, a couple of things, Tawnya, a couple of things. Now, if you were working with me and the way you came on the screen, and you said, you hedged, if I will. I always tell my female employees, never hedge. Never hedge. Never hedge. If it's okay, never hedge. Yes. You watch how corporate executives work. They don't hedge. They can be dead wrong, but they ain't hedging.
But yeah. You're
women, Black and white, hedge all the time. Well, I'm not. Well, I know this doesn't sound. Then I would say, Janice will tell you, you don't believe in yourself. Why am I listening? You already told me you doubt what you're about to say. So why am I listening? Never hedge. You know what you know. You don't know what you don't know.
No.
But as you go on, you'll know more of what you don't know.
May I join the conversation, Gary?
Yes, sir.
I apologize for being late, but I'm here now. Better late than never, as my mother used to say. I have to say,
announce yourself, Dr. Jerry Semper.
Okay, I'm a training partner of Gary's, and we have been trained together. We've traveled around the country together. In fact, I did training at the agency. That's my claim to fame.
Okay.
And they recorded the training and promised that I get a copy, and then somehow they managed to lose it to this day.
Right, I know about that.
So, but here's what I want to say. I'm old, and back in 1975, I was one of the first blacks hired by the 3M company.
Okay.
And in that environment, I wasn't only, but I want to take exception to your hedging thing. I think there's another side. If you seem too confident, you may also create some barriers, because a confident black man sometimes is completely misunderstood, even if you know what you're talking about. And one of the things, I've never been bashful. I had already been in the military. I had retired from the police department back then. So I was kind of a tough guy. And I found that I had to only make sure that one person was good with however I was the person I reported to the manager.
Right.
There were people above the managers who I sometimes locked horns with because they couldn't understand how we got along.
Yeah.
But I tell you, I think it's better for us to be, I guess, challenging rather than be challenged.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you, but let me go with the hedging. I don't care what they think about how arrogant I am. They don't respect us any damn way. Right,
I agree.
So why am I hedging? What's that gonna get me? What, they're gonna change their mind? Oh, that's a nice guy. He comes off. I never shouted, but my words, is one of my quite direct reporters say, your words are like hot rocks.
Yes, sir.
No, I'm not gonna hedge. I know what I know. I don't know what I don't know. So,
and I think what happens is the way they treat you when you're not a hedger differs from the way that they treat some of my brothers and sisters who are constantly trying to appease them.
You got it.
But it used to make me angry, made me angry.
Right. That's the word. You nailed it. You see, because we try so hard to impress and please white people.
No, I'm not.
No, you're not, and I'm not either. But I don't go out. Oh, by the way, I don't go out to irritate them either.
There you go. Go.
I am who I am. I have watched them do it. And I've watched people get praised for being direct and candid and honest. Why can't I be direct and candid and honest? You ask me a question, I give you an answer.
Yes, sir.
You may not like the answer, but I don't like all the answers you give me. So, yeah.
May I add something here? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just want to add an observation. I worked for Kwame when I was at Kraft Foods. And one of the things that he talked about hedging, I never saw him hedge, but I also never saw him on the other end of the spectrum being an angry black man. So that's what he's talking about, being confident without being angry. And that's a good balance. I never heard him raise his voice in the corporation. And that's why he got dubbed as he listened to everyone, he didn't raise his voice. And so we dubbed him the campus priest.
And Janice used to say, when I didn't answer, that was an answer.
I agree.
That's very true.
I think that when you don't get angry, you reinforce your positions. I think it's better not. In fact, it's an old thing from the old neighborhood. I'm from the Bronx, New York.
Mm-hmm.
You don't let anybody know when they've made you angry.
Right.
You still smile. Even the mafia guys, they come to kill you with a smile. I don't know if you know anything about that, but
one of my best friends here today. She's from Italian from Queens. Her dad taught me a whole lot about that.
Right.
I tell you this. No. I tell you this. I grew up on the streets, and I understand one thing. The toughest guys were always the ones smiling.
There you go.
Always smiling. Like, hey man, it's cool.
Right.
But if you cross the line, they would have to. You would have to scrape them off you.
There you go. Exactly.
Okay. So I took a lot of that in my basketball experience. I took a lot of that in corporate. I knew when to take a jumper. I knew when to do an assist. I knew when to get a rebound. I knew that. So what I'm saying to us is that quit contorting ourselves to please white people.
I agree.
Quit contorting. Tell me who you are. I can handle who you are. I remember one time, and Janice will bring this up, somebody had been trying to undermine her, but they were trying to play a game with her. And so she walked upstairs and she had a little something in her eye, and the woman said, "Oh, I feel so sorry for you." And then Janice came to my office, and I had never seen her that stoked up. She said, "That woman doesn't care for me." I just looked at her. I said, "Janice," she said, "I'd rather her just be consistent. She doesn't like me. I don't like her. Why are we playing this game?" And that's what Janice and I did. We didn't play games. Why play games? Why play games? There was a white colleague of mine. I'm out of town. He's going to attack Janice. I'm in Washington, D.C. Janice, you can add to the story.
I was charged with running the first ever women's conference at Kraft, and there were going to be over 300 women, director and above, worldwide. And we had set up these, what we call power dinners, throughout the entire town. We booked all of the finest restaurants, and each of the executives would take a group of women. And I had a finite budget. So I knew that they could drink me under the table. So I preset their menus and I calculated it down to the tax and gratuity. And I said to these VPs, if you choose to consume alcohol, you'll have to put it on your own corporate cards. He sent out a notice to everyone saying that I was trying to change the values and trying to set their values, that alcohol was not appropriate in the corporation. And you know, small things like, you think it's a small thing, but that can kill your reputation. So I just called Kwame and said, this is what he did. And Kwame said, oh, okay, just very cool. And I didn't think he was upset enough. So I said, Kwame, and he says, Janice, I told you it's okay, I'll take care of it. So he came back to town. And a day later, he called me, he said, go up and see Gary. And I said, well, what am I supposed to say? He said, just go up and see him. And when I went up to see this guy, his hands were shaking. He started to tell me how committed he was to my success and how much he liked me and how he was going to work with me and all of this stuff. And he was going to support the conference. And I went back down to Gary's office and I said, what did you say to him? And I'll let you tell that part, Gary.
All I said to him is that you do not treat an employee of mine like that. You do not respect Janice Finn. She is to be respected. If you got something to say to her, say it to me first. And he said, are you threatening me? I said, if that's the way you perceive it, I just told you. I said, you can play back what I said, but I'm telling you, mano a mano, you do not treat that woman this way. And so,
wow. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me okay?
We hear you fine, yeah.
Go ahead, Dr. Lang.
Wonderful. This is Dr. Stacy Lang. I just want to say, I really don't have a real question. I just want to make a statement and say, thank you so much, Jerry Johnson, for allowing myself and the Smart People Network to be a part of this phenomenal, very rich conversation. Definitely impactful. We have some giants on the call from every industry, from education to general contractors to technical developers. I mean, we have a very rich team on the call, and I'm super excited that they got a chance to experience Kwame and everything that he's sharing with us this evening. And I also wanted to add, when he talked about contorting ourselves for trying to appeal and fit in with white people, I also would like him to address, I guess I didn't have a question, but I do want you to address contorting ourselves to fit in with Black people. Because oftentimes when you're the best of the best, like the people in the Smart People Network was designed simply because we had a network of very intelligent individuals that were a cut above the rest, that were entrepreneurs and small business owners and contractors. Right. And when you're really, really smart and you're in an arena with others that don't perceive themselves or really who don't know who they are consciously.
Stacy, that's an important point. You didn't say they were dumb. Okay,
wonderful.
That's an important point. You didn't say they were dumb. You said they didn't know who they were.
Yes.
That's the point.
I want you to speak on that.
All right. Well, it's in the book. You know, and part of what happens is that we as a people have to figure out how to appease white people and not to irritate them. We walk a fine line all the time. And so they would come to me and say, just like you said, they come to me. I think it was Tawnya. They come to me and say, "Kwame, I need your help," and I would say, "Okay, tell me what the issue is." And they would start talking. And I said, "Okay, if I go in there, is there anything they could say that send me out of the office embarrassed? Is there anything, any skeleton in the closet you're hiding? Anything?" I said, "I'm the person you can tell. We can work it out." "Oh yeah, well, I haven't been to work for like a couple of days, and I'm late on my deadlines." I said, "Clean that up and then come back, because I'm not going in there fighting for somebody who's not got that game together." All right. So I had to be very clear. The one example that Janice always likes is, we brought this kid in from Stanford, a young Black kid, brilliant kid. And we had a requirement that you had to have an MBA before you came into brand management or marketing. But he was so smart. For the first time in the whole existence of this program, we put him in as an undergraduate. He started out really nice and he was making good money. And suddenly he started missing work, promised to buy a car from a colleague, took the car, wrecked it, didn't pay him. And, they were concerned and said, "Well, Kwame, could you talk to him?" So I called the guy in. I said, "So what's going on?" And he took what's called a preemptive strike on me. He said, "Kwame, look, man, you understand. How can a Black man make it here?" I said, "The first thing you do is show up for work, damn it. Second thing you do is clean up your relationship with your peers. Then we can answer the question, how can a Black man make it? But you ain't even gotten to the point where you've got any credibility yet." So you have to speak truth to our people, because it doesn't help our people to just reinforce a fiction. It's a fiction, because people play this game. We talk about the race card. We don't play the race card. We only got one card in the deck. It's the Joker. They got 51 cards. They play all the time. That's what affirmative action came from, white people. We learned affirmative action from white people.
May I add something here I think might be germane? Having worked for 3 corporations before I went out on my own and before I went to law school, I found that, and I recommend this to some of my students, a great place, I think, within corporations in general, is sales.
Yes.
If you can make it in sales, you could be treated like a rock star, because here's the joke: if you don't sell it, nobody's gonna have a job.
Oh yeah, that's what they used to set up.
Yes. And so I was a good salesman. So I was able to not have to defend, you just sell. And you could get one of those things where I say, "I'm not coming in today, I'm going to the movies." Nobody bother you because they know you're the man that can make it happen. And I think that's something that we sometimes overlook. If you can sell, if you're willing to do that. And I've had success, and then I'll yield the floor, with some people in the community that are selling the wrong things. And I was able to convince many of them to change products. Right. And let me tell you, brother, they have been successful, because no matter what you look like, white or Black, if you can sell, the company will treat you fine. They'll give you
like, sales is the closest thing to professional athletics.
Yes, sir. I agree with that.
So because they used to ask me, I remember the executive vice president, he would walk past me and say, "What have you done for me lately?" And I go, "What? What do you mean?" He said, "You know how many cases of hot dogs we have to sell to pay your salary?"
There you go.
Now, here's the thing I pointed out. Regardless of whether you're in sales or not, there are 4 situational leadership styles. And remember I said everybody has a leadership moment. Sell, tell, join, consult. You have to know when you have to sell a concept. Even though you're not in sales, you have to take sales principles. And part of the problem with poor salespeople, some salespeople love to hear themselves talk so much, they talk themselves out of the sale. Because what they don't understand is that the buyer always gives you a signal that they're ready to buy. And you keep talking, especially me, you keep talking, I say, "Well, you don't want to sell. You just want to hear yourself talk."
I agree.
Okay. The next leadership style is tell. Sell, tell. Tell is useful in certain circumstances. If you're in a theater and somebody says, "Evacuate," you're not selling him. Maybe we should, what do you think about get out? You gotta know when to use that. That's a powerful one. Tell. Join. When you trust your people. I use this a lot in my style. I'd ask people, "What do you think we should do? I'm one of you." Now I know I have to give the blessing, but what do you think? And then consult. You know, Janice, give me your best thought on this. That's the way we work it. So whether you're in sales, the function, or you're in another function, you always have to remember those 4 leadership styles: sell, tell, join, consult.
This is Janice, and let me just share this. I worked for Kwame, so he was my boss and mentor. And since that time, he's transitioned. He's now my big brother and my mentor. And so I want to get my big brother back to Stacy's point. She wanted to talk about contorting yourself, and that. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Yeah. Well, what again? I go back to what I've said. I mean, what happened? What we don't realize, it's insidious. Who we are has been defined by other people, and we are playing a role that was written by a group of people who had no respect for us. And so, if you listen to white people argue, it's almost like, who are they talking about? They're not talking about us. Well, that's the vision. That's what they pass on to their children. They pass on to their spouses. It's all a series of stereotypes. Now, I understand this. With every stereotype, there is a self-inflection. There is somebody like that. But why did we get generalized across the board? Like everybody's this way, or everybody's angry? No. And when I say we got to contort ourselves, we do code switching. We get in front of white people, and I maintain the way I speak is the way I speak. When my family moved from Louisiana, I had a very Louisiana type of dialect. And I remember the black kids used to tease me and the white kids used to tease me. But that's the way I talk, because that was the way people talked in my home. And so I would watch these Northerners, and they had such clear enunciation. And I said, I don't know if I want to talk that way. But then when I got into school, I would watch kids. We'd be walking to school and they'd be talking to me using the vernacular of the Black community, and we get to school and they code switch. Wow, yeah, wow. I go, you change your voice and everything. And then I watched white Southerners, and they were almost admired for their Southern accent. And I'm going, there's something wrong. Why can't I talk the way I talk? Well, I finally ended up saying, I got to find a neutral way of talking. Because I know sometimes I didn't even understand my daddy. He'd be talking so fast, you know, Louisiana. More better than that. Yeah. Okay, well, I know I couldn't take that into school. But my point about contorting yourself is be who you are. As a friend of mine said, if you're not who you are, you ain't who you is, okay? Be who you are. Are you comfortable with who you are? Do you stand in front of people trying to impress them so that they like you? But the most important thing is, do they respect you? But by contorting, I mean, always think about what is my objective in this interaction? Is my objective to get noticed? Is my objective to get something out of this? Is my objective to move the peanut forward? What is my objective? Why am I talking to this person? To impress this person, to be told, you're very articulate. People used to tell me that, you're very articulate. I said, what does that mean? What does that mean, I'm articulate? You mean you can understand me? I remember when I would go into Oscar Mayer the first time, there was a woman, every time I started talking, she started moving her mouth while I was talking. Like I was speaking a different language. I'm going, this is weird. And I realized she didn't expect to understand me. She did not expect she could understand me. She already anticipated I'm not going to understand you. So my contortion thing is that just be who you are. If you're not sure who you are, check yourself. You can't go into any situation not convinced of who you are. As Ali said, I'm not conceited, I'm convinced. I know who I am. I don't know what I don't know. And all I'm asking people to be is quit playing these games, because it's not working. White people don't care how you come off to them. Everybody on this Zoom know this. I don't care how many initials you have behind your comma and initials behind your name. They stop you, just another nigger. Okay, so why is that? Why is it that when I was so well known in Madison, I went to a bank to draw some money out, and the young guy said, you have to come into the bank. We need to see identification. I said, can I just show it to you? No, you have to come in. So I come in, and Vice President Banks says, oh, that's Kwame Salter. Don't you know who he is? The guy says, no, I don't know who he is. He said, oh, he's on the school board, he's this, he's that. So I said, you know what, I'm closing my account here. He said, why? I said, if I have to walk around with a sandwich board that says I'm Kwame Salter, a unique Negro, then I don't want to do any banking with you. I want to be treated as a person, okay? So suddenly, I was just in the store at Publix the other day, and this little Asian kid, I'm in line, doing some shopping, and he speaks to everybody, how's it going, how's it going? He gets to me, he looks at me, doesn't say anything, rings it up, hands me the receipt, kid bagging and said, how's it going, sir? And I came home and I told my wife, I said, this is interesting. This little Asian guy wants to be so white adjacent. He gonna ignore me. All 6 foot 2.5 inches of me, he gonna ignore me. Yeah, I'm not there, just give me the money. But everybody else behind and in front of me, he's speaking to a charmer. They're white folks. It's okay with me. I ain't gonna contort myself. I'm not gonna say, hey, didn't you see me? You know what? I vote with my money. And so I don't have to come back to Publix. And when I go back there tomorrow, I'm gonna tell the manager, you know, this guy is selective in terms of how you train people to meet each customer. That's all I'm saying. Now you can do with that what you want to. And I'll talk to the kid if it has to be. But that's what I mean by the contortion, Stacy. It's just quit putting ourselves in these positions. Just be who you are, if you know who you are. If you don't know who you are, then keep contorting.
What other questions do we have? I know Stacy, she's a guest speaker in the Clubhouse session, so she might have already gone, may have had to step out, but she was representing the Smart People Network. Do we have any other questions? Because I know, well, some questions have come in through the chat directly to me. There's one of them that maybe you can speak to, if you can share some strategies for what it's like if you're the only Black person in the organization. What is that? Do you have any strategies that you can share?
Yeah, it's consistent with what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you are who you are. You know, I used to tell white folks, I said, you know, I don't get up in the morning saying, okay, I'm a Black man, I got to go in the white world. I said, but before the day is out, before the morning's out, somebody's reminding me that I'm Black. So I'm saying, y'all are preoccupied with this. So think of yourself not as a Black person, but as a professional who happens to be Black. You lead with your professionalism. You lead with your expertise. You lead with your insight. That's what you lead with. Because it's a trick. It's a trick bag when you go into, I'm the only Black person. No, I may be the only smart person. I may be the only insightful person, but I'm not going to reduce myself to being the only Black person, even though that's the way they perceive it. And you can frustrate them when you say, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? Ask me questions about this. Because the thing about being Black and the only Black person, that's probably better than being one of 3 Black people, because what happens is if there's 2 more, anything that goes wrong with those other Black people, they're gonna come to you and ask you to solve the problem. We always have 2 jobs. You know, here's a guy, $400,000 a year. He comes to me and says, I've got this Black employee. Could you help me with him? Could you give me some of your money? Yeah, I could help you with it. But they don't do that. We feel an obligation. Well, no, I'll talk to him. Now, if that happened with a white employee and another went over to another function and said, I got this white employee who's from Jersey and you're from Jersey, could you help me? What? But it's standard operating procedure to say, if you're Black in an organization, then you have to represent all Black people.
oh boy.
I want some more questions. Star Child.
Well, let's see here.
I see somebody over there.
Let me make a statement here.
Right.
Holding back a minute. I've been in a couple of situations where I was the only Black and I was the only one they had confidence in. That means all the white people listen to me before they listen to each other.
Mm-hmm.
They chose me to be their leadership. Now, remember, I've been in the military and in the cops and special units and stuff.
Right.
When you can show people that you can make it happen, trust me, most situations they're willing to listen. Now, they may talk different when they go home and feel different. I don't know if they probably with Trump now, but the point is, I've been there where I've been the man. And if I said it, when I went in the Navy, they made me a squad leader, all white company, and I was in charge. Right. And they did what I told them to do with no questions because they had confidence in me. And they saw that in me early on. I guess the point I'm trying to make is, it depends on the situation you're in and where you are at. And because I've been in both, listen, I've been in every kind of work environment they have, corporate, government, military, police, and it really depends on how you show out. And I have been in situations where the only black guy in the unit and the people in the unit listen to me. In fact, I remember one time an upper officer said to me, well, Semper, you tell us what you want us to do. I said, all right, here's what we're gonna do. I guess it's because it's probably my Bronx training. If you come off like you know what you're talking about and they feel they'll live through the moment, and I've been in some situations where you could get dead if you get it wrong. Right. They're willing to listen to you. So I've had the situation where being a black person in that kind of environment, they'll listen to me before they listen to anybody else, in spite of the fact that I'm black. Now, they may be different when we go out to dinner or...
Oh, no. Let me explain how that works. You one off. They don't generalize. Yeah, him, yeah, he's different. Kwame, he's different. I don't want to be one off. I don't want to be one off. Yes, I went to all white Catholic schools. I lived in a sea of whiteness. So I don't want to be one off. That doesn't help anybody. Yes, you are unique, you are decisive, you are a leader. They knew that. But they don't generalize. So the next black person got to prove himself all over again.
I'm sure. I agree with that.
Because you one off. They just one off you.
But I didn't ask to be one off.
You don't get it. They don't ask you. They just decide. This is the way they keep racism intact. They don't have to ask you. They just said move you out so they don't have to be worried about you as a contradiction. Because they just move you out. Oh, he's one off. That's him. That's him. He's a good man. That guy's unique. But the rest of these guys, you see, I remember when I first came to Oscar Mayer and there were no women in sales. And I said, what's going on? They said, well, we hired one, she didn't work out. I said, you hired how many blonde 5'11" white boys and didn't work out and you still hiring? So what are we talking about? Yes, you're one off. I'm one off. I could have made it anywhere, but that ain't what I wanted. I wanted the opportunity for my people who have different approaches, different personalities than me, to be able to make it on the strength of their knowledge, skills, and ability. That's all I want. But they went off us. And they come to me and they think, why are you still agitating? We've given you everything you want. You haven't given my people opportunity. That's what I want. I will shut up if you do that.
Well. Got quiet in the room.
Got quiet up in here.
Man.
I mean, these are the types of conversation we used to have in the 70s and 80s where you sit around and talk about real issues. Now we live in a bowl of illusions. Everything is illusion. Celebrity.
Let me give you something to, since we got the moment here. I was at a black tie dinner on Capitol Hill. And all the people in the room were big shots and had titles of some kind or another, except for me. And I look across the room and I see a guy over there look like Kwame. I said, hot damn. So I start walking toward the brother. And as I walk toward him, he started moving away. I'm like, what the hell's the matter with this guy? I mean, so now it turns out I'm chasing him. Whoa, man. So I catch up to the brother finally, and I'll give you the straight up, brother, because it shocked me. Remember, I've been around. I'm not like a newbie. I wasn't a newbie then. I've been in the cops, been in the military. I said to the guy, hey, man, how you doing? He says to me, be careful. They'll think we're talking because we're black.
Oh, I've had that happen.
And I was
I've had that happen.
Yeah, well, he made me say some unkind things because I had been in the Navy and I knew words that some people are not used to.
Yeah. Yeah, I got that. I got that in the SARS too. I got those words. I can use them.
Yeah, man. So what do we do about that kind of guy that's afraid? I'm thinking, you stupid fool. Why can't we talk because we're black? You know, I go out of my way to speak to black people. Now, remember, I'm older than all of you. I'm from another generation. I'm black and I'm proud. And I really do go out of my way to speak to people that look like me, whether they feel like me or not. And I'm proud of that's where I'm coming from.
Let me tell you this: your attitude is ageless. Quit dating yourself. I remember speaking because Benjamin Hook wanted me to speak at the 75th Diamond Jubilee for the NAACPs. And I was in Austin, Texas, and they were honoring a man who had worked in the community. She's unsung heroes. And everybody got up and said, you know, Mr. Williams was ahead of his time. Yeah, Mr. Williams was ahead of his time. And so I'm the keynote, so I get up and I said, well, first of all, I want to challenge you. Mr. Williams was not ahead of his time. I said, y'all was behind the time. Mr. Williams was in his time.
I love it.
Mr. Williams was in his time. So every time you or I or somebody like us start talking, people wanted to say we're ahead of our time. No, we just reading the tea leaves. We in our time. And for you to keep saying you old, you ain't old. We just catching up with you. You've been thinking this way when you was young.
Yes, sir. Out of Bronx, New York. I grew up in
You've been thinking
days.
this way.
Yes,
So,
sir.
so you can attribute what ages help you do is articulate it better.
Not be afraid to speak it either.
Right, because when we grew up, we knew how to handle it. We just punch you in your nose.
Yep.
Okay.
You got it, brother.
Then we decided, well, we got to punch a whole lot of noses. So we got to figure out something else. Okay. But do not diminish yourself because you are relevant. And that example you gave is relevant. You will always be relevant because you've seen it. It's what Dick Gregory says, when the universe gives you those glasses where you can see things as they are, not as you want them to be. You can't take them glasses off. You can't give them to nobody else. And it's not easy to see things as they really are.
There you go. There you go. Well said, brother. Well said.
Mm-hmm.
Well said.
What other questions do we have? Don't be bashful. Don't be shy. Matter of fact, I would suggest in the few moments we have remaining that you be selfish. Yeah. Selfish to get your needs met while you can.
Well, to have this dialogue, because we don't have dialogues like this, you know, because we're very careful about talking about topics like this. We don't.
We've been conditioned. We've been conditioned.
Thank you, Jerry.
We've been conditioned to be like this.
Right. And all I'm saying is that this is the time we have these dialogues. We talk about it.
Let me do this then. As a senior citizen, I love saying it, brother. A lot of people I grew up with are gone. So,
well, you know what they say in Japan.
What is that?
They call you a living treasure.
Oh, God bless you, brother. What's your address? I'm gonna send you a check in a minute.
No, that's what they call it. It's a living treasure. It's a living treasure. We don't respect the elders like we should.
Yeah, that's one American thing. Other places they do. But here's what I want to come to, which is on the same page. One of the things I do now is I spend a lot of time teaching and preaching to young people. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about high school, first and second year college. Mm-hmm. Because some of the things that are missing is they need to hear from us some of the stuff we're talking about.
Yes.
They're like ships without rudders. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Yes.
We're losing our young people to so many directions, into TV and some of these shows. It's a lot of stuff happening. And I think that if there's one thing we could do before we all pass into the next world, is we need to spend more time with our young people because they're rudderless ships right now. They really are. And so that's what I do. Okay, I spend a lot of time teaching and preaching to young people in a couple of programs, one of which you've all heard about, Upward Bound. You've heard about
it. I work for Upward Bound at one point.
Okay, I do it now. I guess the point is I'd like more of us to give these kinds of conversations to those young people. It's
going to be difficult. I got two young kids, and they are so celebrity centric. You know, it's like everything they think about. They think these rappers, these entertainers, are leaders. They're not. They're talented, but they're not leaders. And I always tell my son, because you're good at singing, doesn't mean that you're good at everything else. Here's the point. Will Rogers said it best. We're all dumb, just on different subjects. Okay. So the key is to find out what subject you're talking about. Now, if you know more than I'm listening to you. If you know less than that, I don't listen to somebody who don't know more than me. But if you know more than me, I'm listening to you. I would listen to a 5-year-old. I've had 5-year-olds say things that are so profound. I keep a little notebook. I write it down. Insight is insight. And so, yes, we need to talk to our young people, but we need to let them know that you're not going to make it overnight. My granddaughter, and you all may know my granddaughter. Her name is Yara Shahidi on Grownish. She's a very political person because she grew up in a political family. And I always tell her, speak truth, as Janice used to tell me, speak truth into existence. If they don't see truth, speak it.
I give you one more we need to add to that. We need to let the young people know that some of these celebs, who they seem to be in the movies and on TV and the shows, that's not who they are.
Oh, no.
And that it's better to make friends with the grocer down the street.
That's right.
Do you know you're on the phone?
Than some celebrity, because those people are not real. And who they seem on TV is not who they really are.
Yeah, there's somebody trying to come through. Hello?
Oh.
My credit.
Hello?
Somebody was not on mute.
My credit. She's talking to somebody in her house about the
Okay.
That's when people wait for you to get on Zoom, and then they come and say, "Mommy, Daddy." Anyway, so the deal is, I think we need to talk to the young people, and I think we need to remind them that some of the people that they hold in esteem, they don't know the person. That's the point I want to make.
Yeah, and I respect those people who have accomplished something in the theater and movies and entertainment, but let's not generalize that as though they're brilliant people or their lives are perfect. Nobody's life is perfect.
Right.
Nobody's life is perfect.
I agree.
And so what I tell my son is, look, they got people working for them to project the image of perfection.
Yes.
That's all it is. You know, they get paid. And then you find out these people had these meltdowns, they're going crazy, they're jumping through hoops that they don't have to jump through. You look at a man like Kanye West, when his mother passed away, that was it.
He ain't been right since.
He ain't been right since.
Right.
Okay. He is as crazy as a lizard on a Texas highway in a 95-degree heat.
That sounds real crazy.
That's crazy. Nate, you got anything you got to say?
Oh, Nate, you just came on. You're in the hot seat, Nate.
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, I apologize. I just got in from work. I'm not sure what the topic is.
The topic is us, black people.
You're a black man in America. You the topic.
Oh, well, good evening, everybody. Thanks, Gary, for the invitation to join and be a part of this. I am glad to be here. I'm looking forward to listening in on the rest of the conversation. Yeah, you're right. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered, okay? And, but with a steady beat, have not our weary feet. Come to the place for which our Father sighed. But we still have a long way to go. We have a long way to go. Gary knows a little bit about me just by introduction. I'm a government employee for the next couple of years. I'll be having cake and punch in about 24 months. And I'll be saying bye-bye to that. But I have some other exploits that I want to do, not the least of which is I've just started the LLC to make sure that our history, Black history, African-American history is not lost. History that is not told is forgotten. History that's forgotten is lost. Right. And so I'm taking as a personal charge to make sure that, we have a lot of untold, unknown, little known history. Right. And I want to see about getting like contracts with middle schools, high schools, charter schools, youth serving organizations, so that our children know our history. So the name of my corporation is Truth Be Told. And I'm still getting it together, marketing and all that, working on the website. So look out for it. I was just in St. Augustine doing a little homework and swung by Gary's house while I was there a couple of days ago. So it's just great to be here. Thank you.
That's beautiful.
Let me add to this. This is important. You need to know, Nate, that because of what you want to do, you've already been determined to be an enemy. That's the critical race theory. That's if you start teaching truth, you're the enemy. So I would just say to you, keep your eyes and ears open. Watch everybody, because brother, they're coming after you. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear truth. So That's all. Just be careful. That's all I say. You down in Florida? Oh God, you and Gary.
I'm actually
y'all
I'm
got
in
some
Maryland.
nerve.
I'm in Maryland.
He was visiting. He was visiting.
Oh, okay.
Here's what I say, and it's in my book. I quote Gloria Steinem: "The truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off."
Well,
So always speak truth.
You're absolutely right.
Always. And see, the other thing is what Martin Luther King said: "We're not where we're going to be. We're not where we ought to be. But thank God we're not where we was." It's always going to be a process of struggle. And I'm in it for the struggle. We become struggle prepared. We get up every morning ready for the struggle. So the thing I want to eliminate in your minds is the fear of white people. White people are afraid. This is what they fear today. They don't know. They think we're going to act like they act. But we've shown them after 400 and some years here. We've shown them we are not you. Our soul is not constructed that way. We are forgiving people. All right?
that's what they relied on, but I think we need to spend more time bringing us together. I think we need to have more people.
My point is our culture has always been a forgiving culture. It's a forgiving culture. We're not going.
So we need to speak to the truth of the fact that we need to learn how to be together. Some of those old records from the 60s and 70s, that's the missing piece, I think.
Well, it's
conversation.
It's what Malcolm X said. Before we talk about integration with the white man, we have to integrate with ourselves.
I agree.
That's the bottom line.
I agree.
We got so many different perspectives. What's going on back there?
Oh, Team
Gary's
Janice.
doing something. Gary's
No,
doing something.
no, we're going to talk about how people can get the book.
Oh, yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna hold back my check then. All right. I was just writing him a check for $12,000. I'm gonna hold on.
You can still write that check and then give away the books because you know Christmas is coming up.
How about I write the check and put it in a frame and say, this is what I would have given to Mr. Salter.
Yeah, that could be good. then I'll do one of those, the thing they call nowadays when you can go in and sell these images.
Oh, yeah.
NFTs, NFTs, the non-fungible tokens.
Yeah, I take that and say, I got a check here.
From Doc Semper.
But I'll sell it.
Go. There you go. There you go.
You can purchase the book on Amazon at my website.
Okay.
What's good about Amazon, though, as Janice reminds me, is that if you buy it and leave a comment, that just spurs other people to buy it. And I've been getting orders from Amazon, so whatever Janice has done is working.
Folks, let me tell you, I have been really, really pleased with this this event. My goodness, I really want to thank people for coming out. I want to thank you for your questions. I've gotten private messages in the chat from people who said this was like the best conversation that they've heard. They're like, this is stuff that we need to do. Why haven't we had more of these conversations? Right. So clearly there's a need for this kind of stuff. So this is
and Jerry, you've been chosen to convene it.
I don't mind. I don't mind.
I know. That's why the Most High chose you.
I'm ready.
Remember what we said when we first met? There are no coincidences.
That's right.
There are no coincidences.
That's right.
So we had a point in time where this type of skull session and discussion needs to be taking place frequently and periodically.
Oh, this is going to be one of the first things on my calculations talk show next month.
Right.
You know, because people are going to see. I don't care if 3 people watch it the first week, 30 the next week, 300, and then 3,000. We on our way.
And somebody got their hand up over here. Who's that?
Oh, okay. That's from the SPN. Let's see here. He looks like a Hardiman. Let's see. Talk on. Unmute. iPhone. We don't have the name. There we go.
I apologize. My name is Paul Hardiman.
I knew it. Looked like a Hardiman. Go ahead.
I got cut off a little bit earlier and I had to reconnect. So I'm walking through a building.
Hey.
And I just wanted to let you guys know I greatly appreciate the information that's been received this evening. And it's been extremely enlightening. And I've had some of the experiences that you've spoken of as far as the corporate system here in the United States.
Right.
And you guys have really helped me out, and you have reaffirmed some of the things that I have experienced personally. I've had the experiences you were talking about as far as individuals being intimidated by you being a man of African-American descent and being sure of who you are and confident in the person that you are and know your craft. I've been doing building engineering for like the last 15 years, and I take care of Charles Schwab buildings and things of that nature.
All right.
And also have my own contracting business. But I've had some experiences lately where, you know, people are just extremely intimidated by you knowing your profession and being secure with the person that you are, and able to perform at a level that they're intimidated by. They're used to individuals, I guess, cowtailing and not being confident in what they're doing. But I've studied my profession for years. Go ahead.
It makes them feel comfortable, and it's not my job to make you feel comfortable as a white
person. Exactly. And I'm not here to make you feel comfortable, but I just noticed a lot of the things that you were referring to. I've had those experiences within the last 2 years or so. And it just reaffirmed what I knew I was living, because I've lived these experiences. So I just greatly appreciate you guys bringing it to light and confirming it. You know, you get 1, 2, 3, then, you know, that's my affirmation and confirmation that I have been having these experiences. And I know it's something that we experience as our people do experience here in this society, but it can definitely be overcome with excellence, and you know, kind of like Grandmama them said, we are overcoming, and I like to see them intimidated, you know.
Right. Well, they choose. That's their choice. They can respond to us any way they want to. What I'm saying, what you see is what you get. I'm not going to change my tone because I'm in front of the president of the company.
Of course.
I'm not going to change my tone because I'm with a brother on the street. This is what you see. This is what you see.
Exactly.
And it's what Tawnya said. When people come in and say, "Can you help me?" And they already messed up. Now you gonna come in. I'm supposed to pull a rabbit out of that. Okay. But you come to me because you're desperate. You should have come to me first, but you don't trust me.
I agree.
But you know what?
I agree.
These types of discussions that we're having need to continue.
I agree.
These are like a huddle. In my first book, I call it a playbook for the seriously ambitious.
Okay.
Getting to your goal without losing your soul.
Wow.
That's my whole thing.
Wow.
Getting to your goal without losing your soul.
Yeah, I can't wait to read it.
See, we are the people who talk about soul power, but now we don't even know what soul is. We have no idea what soul is. You know, the book I'm talking about is called, that's my previous book called Striving While Black.
Okay.
Okay, and that's written for people who are coming into corporate America. I'm telling you, this is what you got to look out for. The second book is based on being there and then being successful and then thinking you made it and find out you've been put in another environment that you got to learn all over again. Because I just wrote an article, and Gary, I'll send it to you. It's called Systemic Racism Bill of Rights.
Wow.
And what I point out, Janice, do you have it in front of you? Janice? Where she go?
No, she's there. She's there.
You good?
I'm on mute. I'm gonna try to pull it up here for a second. But I don't have the corrected, the final copy. All mine has edits in it.
I just wanted to read the Bill of Rights that I sent to and said the white people have that they claim they don't have.
Okay, hang on.
See, what I said is systemic racism has made it unnecessary for the bigot to do anything, because systemic racism said we don't have to do anything. The system is set to discriminate. We don't have to do anything.
Exactly.
And even the liberals go, you know, I don't know. I'm not prejudiced. You don't have to be, because the system takes care of that for you. Okay?
Wow.
And
Thanks
so
for the confirmation.
Yeah, and so what I wrote, here it is. Look at this. The right, here's what I said, to the favorite group, systemic racism sets aside certain rights that are taken for granted. Here they are. White people have the right to exist without needing to justify their existence. The right to be judged as an individual without being associated with the worst of their group. the right to fail without racial implication for the rest of their group, the right to be outraged because of unfair treatment, the right to define who is patriotic and who is not, the right to enjoy life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness without constant agitation, protests, and the specter of state-sponsored terrorism.
Wow.
Because we are terrorized by the police. We are terrorized by the Proud Boys. We're terrorized by all of this. And I ended it, the last thing I ended with is that what we need to do is replace systemic racism, Paul, with systemic justice.
Okay.
All right?
I totally agree. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Janice.
Well, one of the things we can do, given the time, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. And again,
Lisa's out there.
Oh yeah, yeah. I want to. We'll get that. And I want to make sure that we. I'll get. Make sure you get for people who've got me their information in the chat. We'll take care of you there. And you can go to blackmeninamerica.com. You can see my conversation with Kwame. And if there's any other updates that we will post on there, we will make sure that you see it there. And now we have your contact information. We'll make sure that when we have other conversations and events, that you be a part of that. And so, Lisa, unmute yourself. You got the final word. Let me tell you about Lisa. Lisa called me on my cell phone, totally out the blue, about 9 minutes before we were supposed to go on the air. And I'm like, do I answer this? Then I'm like, okay, it's Lisa. I ain't heard from Lisa in a long time. Look at her face. And I got to answer it, And I said, Lisa, you need to be on this conversation. And then she sent me a text message and said, I haven't gotten it yet. And I'm like, I sent it. But anyway, she's here, which means this wasn't by accident, Lisa. I'm going to be quiet. You have the floor.
Hello, my name is Lisa Daniels, and I've known Gary, I don't know, for a long time at this point. I believe in some ways he may be my soulmate of a kind of sorts, because I've kept up with him and told him what's going on. And so my latest is I told him that as of the 31st, I am leaving my job. And going to figure out what my next phase of life is. But right now it's just focusing on my 11-year-old. But what led me to that decision was many things, but the impetus was I just got tired of the disrespect, because all of a sudden I didn't get stupid after 21 years of working. So because I followed a lot of my daddy's lessons and lived like a poor woman for the last 21 years, I was able to tell them, you can kiss my.
I know. Well, it's like my buddy used to say, you can kiss me all over and you're bound to kiss my.
I'm excited to be able to start this new journey. And I also have an LLC that focuses on, or I'll be focusing on, helping people with marriage, career, and marriage and family. So I'm excited to pursue that dream as well.
Well, let me go back to with Gary. It's something you've read before. People come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And you got to know when it's a reason. Sometimes we think they come there for a reason. They're only there for a reason. So one of the things you got to understand about life is that I always use the example, life is about bridges. You got to know which bridge to cross and which bridge to burn. If you burn the wrong bridge, then you should have crossed it, you're in trouble. If you cross the bridges you should have burned, you're in trouble. So I think it's a great decision because possibilities, unlimited possibilities exist in the unknown. And what you've decided to do, Lisa, is I'm going to go into the unknown.
Well, I burned the bridge at work and I kept Gary.
Right. So that's what I'm saying.
We ain't gonna let you starve. We ain't gonna let you starve.
Right.
You're gonna be all right.
You're going, yeah. That's what I always tell my kids. And I get frustrated sometimes, but I told them when they were young, you will always have a place to stay and something to eat. Okay? Now, if you want more, that's up to you. But I'll take care of that. And so when you start to, just remember what Kurt Vonnegut said about misery, and he said the doors to hell are locked from the inside. All you have to do is open them. And all you did, Lisa, you said, I'm in hell. I'm opening this door and getting out. And there are other people walking, banging on doors. Somebody open the door. The door in hell is locked from the inside, man. Open the door yourself. And that's all you did, Lisa. And God bless you.
All right. Okay. All right, folks.
Okay, somebody from the Smart People Network was saying something.
That was Paul.
Was that Paul?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was Paul. So
correct.
Yeah. So you got one last thing, or you good, Paul? Because I'm getting ready to close it out.
No, I'm very clear. I appreciate the information. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really want to thank the people that I know and the people that I don't know for showing up and for taking time. I know until about 4 or 5 months ago, I was in that hustle too, and finally decided to, give up my client space and move on. But I really appreciate the friends that I've built over the last 30 plus years. So you all will be hearing more from us, more from Kwame, and you all be safe, and we will stay connected. I'll make sure we stay connected with our networking roster. We'll work that out. And to all the people in the Smart People Network, people will know about you because we're all going to exchange information. So
this is the beginning of the beginning.
There you go. Kwame, you got the final word.
Well, I just want to appreciate everybody that was on. I appreciate the candor that we expressed here. I appreciate the questions. And there's no dumb questions, just questions that were never asked. That's a dumb question. So, you ask the questions. You don't try to position or posture yourself like you all that. What you're saying is that here's my experience. As vulgar as it may seem to you, you may get something out of it. But here's my experience. And that's what we have to do to each other. We have to take the old Mexican adage, each one teach one. That's what we got to do. Each one teach one. Tell me what you know. Gary has told me more about setting up these things, technical things. We were talking about a lot of things, but he knows, and he learned the hard way. But he didn't say, well, you have to call tech support. He said, here's what you should do, here's what you should do. So I just want us to help each other. I want us to understand that the reason we are considered one people is because of the one type of treatment we get. When we get to a point where we're free, we may not even talk to each other. That's how deep it is. But right now, we have to talk to each other for survival.
I know I keep saying we getting ready to leave, but I can't. It's Lester. Lester, you've been on the whole time. Unmute. And your hand went up, and I'm like, I can't leave this brother hanging.
Yeah, no, I want to talk to Lester.
Yeah.
Kwame, how's it going, bro? I will add a little ketchup to the sauce, to put a little sauce on it. So I'm in the entertainment business, and I've been exposed to a lot of the corporate structure about a lot of the corporations by me doing the meetings. I was kind of like, I guess you say, the spook sat by the door because I did the microphones, the LED, and the setup for corporations to do all of these different magnificent things they do amongst a structure. And my biggest fear, like these pharmaceutical companies, was like, it was like always worry about the drug dealer on the corner. But like these pharmaceutical companies, they'll kill your whole family. Like, man, these people are very spooky, but as a melanated people, we never get a chance to see them in action. You know what I'm saying? Like craft is a unique situation, a unique corporate structure. And a lot of times what we missing is the corporate structure, and nobody ever taught us about the corporate structure. They always taught us to be good corporate slaves as far as too much French. So it's like now I want a refund for my education because I feel like I didn't really get it because you taught me how to be a, you know what I'm saying? You didn't teach me how to be the boss.
What they did was they trained. They didn't educate, they trained. My father said the difference between training and education. You can train a monkey to bring you your breakfast every morning. You can only educate a man.
My latest word about God was I was following this guy, Dan Calloway, was transportation. Was the transportation of the mind, like you said, to transport you into something that you really didn't want to be, that you really didn't know what, you really didn't know where you were going. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm transporting you to this another, relocating you to another land, another situation. And what they do is the corporate structure. So I'm trying to modify using the word black because, like you said, the black has a particular space in their corporate structure.
Right.
But what about the melanated man, or how do we set up melanated corporations and structure things for ourselves to attract people that look like us to our corporation with our structure in it?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And a lot of times we miss corporate structure because we didn't learn that part. So we always try to be, you said not to be a follower, be part of, or also get the word that you said as far as to conform to their likeness, but the corporate structure, like I don't even want to use your words as part of the decision that you put me in. I don't want to be the black dude. I want to be the melanated dude over here that maybe like, well, where did he come from? But we was always here, you know. And so that's just my hang up lately. But
it's not a hang up. That is not a hang up, Lester. That's not a hang up. What you're saying is that why are we defined by our color?
Correct.
You can't get past that. And the only time, this is why I used to tell white people at craft. I said, before I walk in the room, I tell them this is how much power we have.
They ain't leave yet. It's tomorrow. I thought today was Wednesday.
That's all right. I muted them.
Okay. I said, before I walk into the room, you're Jewish, you're Italian, you're Irish. I walk in the room, you become white. I have the power to turn ethnics into white people.
Mm-hmm.
Without me, you ain't white. You need me to be white.
Correct.
So I ain't giving it to you. Okay. So when you say as a white person, I go, well, first of all, I don't know if that's an ethnic group. What's your ethnicity? Because everybody, and this is something that's a very touchy subject. We have our brown brothers who are becoming more white adjacent. They're saying, you guys shake the tree, we'll pick up the fruit. But we never gonna start anything. But the minute something happened to us, we're gonna use the same techniques, protest models, articulation. White people using the same thing we used in the civil rights struggle. They use it for themselves. Unreversed.
I got something for you to think about. Do you remember when Italians and Irish weren't considered white?
Yes, I remember when
they weren't white. They weren't white. They joined white.
Right. There's a book out called When Jews Became White, When Italians Became White. When affirmative action was designed for white people under Franklin Delano Roosevelt. We, in Social Security, we were cut out of it. The South wouldn't let us get it because it cut out farm workers and service workers. So no, I have the history of how we've been treated, but that's okay because it's not where you start, it's where you end.
So, and on that note, Kwame.
All right.
Kwame, I wanted to do the venues of melanated venues, of places that we can show off and showcase our talents. You see what I'm saying? Because like I said, right now, we participate on these Zooms and different things like that. So the one thing that does stick in our mind are the images that we see. Right. So I got into the LED business as far as because we don't own the TV stations, but if I got the screen, you know, in the TV or the display, then I can participate into this game that you're putting on our people. You understand? So
it's all about It's all about portals. You're saying you don't have to have the TV anymore. You just have access to the portal.
I just have access to the portal, but by me controlling the screen, as far as me being backstage or on the screen, the actual LED displays, that I could participate in the portal as far as the information for our people. And so that's what I think we need to get. We can spark the youth with. I create the wow factor with the screens because that's how they get to the. That's how they get you with the entertainment business. Because like you said, why do these actors and these? Because they see them in the big screen. So if I see Kwame on the big screen, then I'm gonna be like, man, what's up with Kwame? I said that dude on the big screen. You see what I'm saying? So we got to get Kwame on the big screen. So we'll hook up and I'm gonna get you on the big screen, Kwame, so everybody can see like, man, Kwame look like Dr. J. He gonna have something to say. But you know what I'm saying? So that's the part I think I want to add to. I just want to get Kwame on the big screen, get everybody on the big screen because it makes a difference in add your production value to your message. Yeah. And it makes us look a lot more healthier. You know what I'm saying? Because now they see that you participated and spent a lot of money into your presentation that they should listen to it. And that's the only thing that well, you meet them where they're at. You meet them where they're at. That's what you said. Meet them where they're at. That's exactly where we're at. So that was my last one. I just wanted to put that little sauce on it. And it's a pleasure listening to you, Kwame. And hope to see you, meet you soon. You will. This is just the beginning.
Yes, sir.
The beginning of the beginning.
I appreciate that sauce there, Brother Lewis.
Yes, sir.
All right, everybody. I'm going to, you'll get some recognition. This, as I mentioned, this program was being recorded so we can play for future broadcasts for people who may not have had the benefit to be here. You'll get a link and be aware of a link when it comes out. So on that note, everybody be safe, have a good night, and thank you very much for coming out.
Thank you, Gary, and
Talk
thank
to you
all
later.
the participants.
Bless you, brother. Be well.
All right.
Thank you. All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right, Gary, talk to you soon.
All right. All right.